Good morning, evening, Bruins. We're getting started here now that I've unmuted myself. There's still some people joining, so we want to make sure that we let everybody who wants to participate get in. But I appreciate your time tonight. These are unique circumstances. I have been at Greenacres for a long time, and not that long. I do have kids that say mom and dad went to school there, but no grandparents. There are no grandparents that say they've been there. But through the years, we've done a lot. We've remodeled the building. We've switched from a junior high to a middle school. We opened up Selkirk and moved a lot of families and teachers there. And so we're not, and it's not unknown to change. And this is a very unique one. Certainly presenting to you this way tonight is a first for me, but the same thing is going to go on as happened with all these other changes, great education. And at Greenacres Middle School, we're going to provide a quality education under a unique circumstance. One thing that stands out to me about all those are the teachers and the families that have all come together to help make sure that happens. Usually in a typical school year, teachers start showing up this week and they have about a week and a half and they're meeting with colleagues and they're planning, getting their classrooms ready, first day, first week. Our teachers have been coming for over 3 weeks. So by the time school starts, it's going to be almost a month that the teachers that are working with your children have been getting ready for this school year. And that's remarkable. It's all new learning. It's going to be online, but you know what? They're dedicated and they're prepared. And today we want to share with you some of the things that I hope will help you see and be able to answer questions for your child and for yourself. There'll be question and answers at the end. So you'll see Tyler, our moderator. He'll be able to come in and help moderate some of the questions. You'll see Marla Nunberg, who works here at the district office, and she knows a lot about the PR and everything that's going on. And so along the way, as you go down at the bottom and you can see the question and answer, you can go in there and start asking questions. We probably will wait till the end to kind of answer broad questions, but Marla will be able to answer questions along the way, so you don't have to wait either. So be watching that. You might open that up while we're going along. So we're going to try to provide you with information over the next 20, 25 minutes, and then we want to provide answers to your questions as much as we can. But first, I'd like to introduce our new assistant principal, not new to the district, but new to Greenacres. So welcome to Jennifer Chase.
Thanks, Vern. Hello, good evening, Bruins. I'm so excited to be a part of the Bruin family, a part of the Bruin community. I've been at Greenacres for the last month, preparing for you and for your students, and working with our staff and getting everything ready. Most recently in the district, I was at Bowdish Middle School. I was the assistant principal over there. And prior to that, I was the K-12 science coordinator for the district. So I've been in Central Valley for a long time. I'm also part of this community. My boys were both Bruins as they went through middle school. So I'm just very excited to meet all of you, whether it's virtually or when we get the chance to meet face to face. I met some of your sixth graders yesterday at Sneak Peek, and I offered to them that typically in a regular year, I would let you know that my office door is always open. And I'll say the same thing to you tonight that I said to your sixth graders yesterday. Treat my email and my phone like my office door. So while you can't just come in and have a conversation, if there is anything that you need, any support that we can provide, any questions that you have, my contact information is all over our website. We're going to be sending you a handbook tomorrow with lots of information. Please feel free to reach out, phone, email, however we can support you and your child coming back to school. That's what we want to do. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Jennifer. Another person that's joining us today is a familiar face, Mrs. Janet McDonald, our counselor. So I'll let Janet say hello.
Thank you, Vern. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. And these are unusual times and some can be difficult times, and your students have been on my mind all summer. Some of you are probably tired of me calling you, but your families and your students mean everything to me. So we have been working nonstop night and day trying to get all these schedules correct, and we are just about there. So they'll be ready soon for you. And I've worked just tirelessly with my secretary and myself, just making sure that they're right for you. So that being said, Jen Chase, our vice principal, said it well. My door's always open too. And here at school, I am around the halls and involved in all your kids' lives as much as possible. So email me, call me. I will be sharing a Google Classroom with resources for all our families. And if your student needs to contact me or get a hold of me, a telephone call from you would be great to let me know that you'd like to, your child to speak with me. But always just contact me and we'll figure out a way, whether it's a phone call or email or virtually, that I can meet your needs. So thank you, and I'm glad you're here tonight.
Thank you, Janet. Well, we're going to go through a program that we kind of set up just to try to get the ball rolling and answer as many questions as we can. So tonight's agenda, we'll be covering back to school, the back to school handbook, which we're calling the parent handbook. That's what Jennifer alluded to. There's going to be information you hear today in there, but other information you're going to see in there. The Chromebook distribution, we're going to go over meal distributions. That has changed recently, so I want to make sure I cover that. Student planner, school supplies, class schedules, Blackboard, the use of Blackboard, a virtual example of school and what does it look like at Greenacres, first day of school, a daily schedule, a typical school day, planning for a return in person a little bit, and then time for questions and answers. So what you'll find in our handbook that will come up is going to be just all the staff, all their emails, all their addresses, including office people. So if you need to reach out to somebody, it is going to be quick and easy for you to reach out to a teacher or an administrator or Mrs. McDonald and get some help. We're going to have virtual classroom expectations, which are our GER, and the teachers will be going over that with, one more click, we'll be going over that with students the first couple of days and then reminding them. So I think we're one more. So you can watch for that. Attendance, the attendance line for phone calls, how to log into Blackboard, how to access Zoom. And those are all going to be sent tomorrow. So those will come out with step-by-step process for getting into Blackboard and getting into Zoom. So if those are things that you've been kind of wondering about, and yes, you can do it from a personal computer. It does not have to be a Chromebook. So, so going on to the Chromebook and devices, that has just changed on how we're going to be handing those out. As of today, you can no longer pick them up at University High School. They are available at Central Valley High School still, and that will be through Tuesday. So through Tuesday, you can pick them up at Central Valley High School. The hours are 9 to 1 and 3 to 7. And then also after Tuesday, every school is going to have a number of them that are available to families. So if yours breaks, quits working, you didn't get one, you thought you didn't need one, and now you need one, come to Greenacres as of Wednesday, and we'll be then handing out and distributing Chromebooks. Meal distribution, there's a couple of options. So one option is that you can go and pick up a whole week's worth of lunches if you want. You can do it on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays. And you can go there and pick up 5 lunches for the week, along with 5 breakfasts. It'll give you meals, gives you groceries and instructions for you to do that. The other option is day to day. You can pick up a lunch and a breakfast at the same time. There's curbside meals, and you can pick up at any Central Valley School District school from noon to 1, any school. And you don't have to have your student with you. If you come up and you say, I have 2 kids and I need 2 lunches and 2 breakfasts, you're going to get 2 lunches and 2 breakfasts. The state's made it way easier for us to do. It's been recent, but they're going to make it easier for us to be able to provide meals to you as families. So please take advantage of that. Planners and supplies and distribution. We have planners right now that are available for every single student. It's for the whole year. It has lots of information on how to keep track. It has school rules and kind of those kinds of things, expectations. But for right now, it's just a great planner to be able to keep track of assignments, lessons, things you need to do. Now for kids, once you get into Blackboard, you're going to see that it's pretty simple to follow along from day to day, but it is a way of kids to be able to track what they've gotten done and what they still have to do. We are going to be open at Greenacres Middle School starting on Tuesday, the 8th through Friday, the 11th. And all you have to do is swing by. We'll let you in. You're going to grab the number of planners you have for the number of kids you have, and off you go. It's going to be real simple for picking those up. But please remember, you got to enter through the front door and you have to wear a mask and practice social distancing. But it should be quick. In one door, grab what you need, out the other door, and you can have it. Other supplies, textbooks. At some point, we may need to distribute textbooks. Part of our reading and language arts plan are novels that are being purchased. They should be in any time. We have art that's being offered. Right now, we're going to do a pottery class, but those supplies are needed. So we're going to send out information about when those are available. Right now, our plan is to have as much as that available September 8th through the 11th. So you grab the stuff you need and off you go. And then you don't have to come back again to get other materials. But that'll be dependent on if materials have arrived. But definitely art and planners will be available. School supplies. A Chromebook or a personal computer obviously is definitely needed. If you're going to get a personal computer, make sure it has a microphone and speakers and a camera so that the kids can fully participate. One of the questions that always comes up is, can we just simply put a fake picture up? And we're really promoting, because you can put a background in. The teachers will show kids how to make backgrounds. We really do want to see students so we know they're there, we know they're connected. But we also want them to be able to personalize it if they want. Spiral notebooks, a binder, paper, and dividers are always handy for kids while they're working in class, because they're going to be asked to do things, and so to have that available. Pencils, pens, calculator, and then of course their student planner if you're able to pick it up to keep themselves organized. So those are some school supplies that they'll need while they're working virtually. Classroom schedules in Blackboard. I'm gonna wait here because it's small. Okay. So Blackboard is the main platform for Central Valley School District. This is where everything else is going to be housed. So students, parents, teachers all log into Blackboard. Blackboard is where we'll post lessons. If you're a student that'll come every day, you can go there and see the lesson you're going to have that day. We're asking teachers to post 5 days in advance so that students that are working at a self-pace can still see what the lessons are for the week. That way they don't wait day to day to day. And if parents can help them on Wednesday, they can do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday's lessons. But students can all see the lessons in advance. So it's a place where we're putting everything in one spot. As a parent, if your student needs to go to another site in order to get something, on the left side of Blackboard is listed all the locations. So at that point, it's a click of a button. Click a button, it takes you to where you need to go. So teachers may be working quite a bit out of Google Classroom, but they'll go there from Blackboard. CVSD login instructions. This page will have everything that you need in there for parents to get in. We're going to send you, remember, Blackboard and Zoom instructions tomorrow. And it'll be part of a parent packet that we want you to have that you can just put on your screen, copy and stick on the fridge. Quick, easy access to information that you might need. Class schedules, available Tuesday, September 8th. Access to schedules in PowerSchool, both for students and parents. The access to the schedules also is in Blackboard. So let me give you a warning. So if, what we really hope is that when we send you the login information to be able to get going on Blackboard, that you'll over the weekend go in and take a look, and your kids will. Catch is, once you go into Blackboard, you'll be able to see your schedule. And because we're still working on them, they may not be either complete or they could change slightly. Now we're quite a ways along. Thank you to Janet McDonald and Mrs. Scott, our secretary. But until the 8th, they still could be moved. Now we're trying not to, but just know that what you look at on Saturday could possibly change by Tuesday. Doubtful, but could. So I just want you to know that. But once kids log into Blackboard, you don't have to wait for Power School because your schedule is there. There's a help desk available, but it's only available starting on September 8th, and it'll be from 8 to 4. So if you're a go-getter and tomorrow at 1 o'clock you go in the Blackboard and it doesn't work, drop Jen, Chase, or myself a line, see if we can help you. But the help desk will not be available until Tuesday of next week. Classes start obviously on Wednesday, September 9th. So we'll see you then. Another thing that we're going to do, and I can't remember if it's in this, is that we have asked the teachers at 1 o'clock to be available on Tuesday, and we're going to load into Blackboard a Zoom login for each teacher, just like you would do on Wednesday. But at 1 o'clock on Tuesday, we're going to ask teachers to hold a 10-minute class for each of their periods. And so at 1 o'clock, your students, and this goes for Choice 4 students too, to practice, can log in, can go to class, see their teacher, see their classmates, and they'll be there for 5, 6 to 8 minutes, meet the teacher. The teacher will probably share some information with them, make sure they were able to get in okay, and then they'll log off like a regular day. And then they'll go back to Blackboard, log into their second period, and then be able to meet their second period teacher, classmates, and so on. And then we'll also do it for third period. So it's a trial run, very short, just so kids know that they know they can get in. And then if there's a challenge, there's still time on Tuesday to correct that and try to figure that one out. We're not anticipating it. We had a lot of students that were able to load Zoom and come to our 6th grade back to school. So that was great, sneak peek. Anyway, that's for that. Our example schedule. We are offering 3 periods. Now, obviously, with 6 periods in general, we're only going to be able to do 3. So all of the classes will flip at quarter. So you can see student 1 has ELA, and then an exploratory or health and fitness, and then they may have history. At Greenacres, we felt it was really important for kids to have both a literacy class and then a science or a math class. And so most students will start off with math classes and also have history. And then they'll have either an exploratory, a music class, or then they'll have PE. So the catch to that is that when you get to the end of the first quarter, those will flip. And so math will become a language arts class and history will become a science class. And so you'll always have one of each, an ELA and science, or a history and math, or kind of a combination of that. If you're in PE, you'll now be in exploratory. If you're in exploratory, you'll now be in PE. Each of these classes, if you look at the class periods, are an hour and a half long. So that's a long time for students. We have built in the middle of each one of those hour and a half blocks, a break. Now that break isn't one where the student goes, oh, I can shut off. It's an activity. So the teachers will be doing some form of an activity. One is 5 radical minutes. Janet McDonald has brought that to Greenacres Middle School. And they're short little get to know you fun activities. Character Strong, our entire staff has been trained in Character Strong. So we have short little 5 to 10 minute Character Strong activities, or an organizational activity. So each period, we're going to try to break it up in the middle just for a few minutes with some other activity that kind of moves students around, has them talking to other kids, and those sort of things. So they aren't sitting there for a very long period of time. Our teachers are also talking about breaking it up by short periods of lessons, then some work time. Possibly we can go into Zoom and put kids in groups. And so some group work, group conversation, partner work, share pair work, just different ways to break up an hour and a half meaningfully, but give kids a chance to work together and experience education just like they would in a classroom. So you can see that they'll log on around 8:30. They'll go to first period. We give them a little bit of time to get a drink, use the bathroom, and get logged back into the next class. Then we'll do second period. We then take lunch, and along with lunch is a short passing period. So they have about 35 minutes with lunch in the passing period. Then they'll do third, and then there's a little transition at the end of third period as well. And then there's student independent work and teacher access time. So all students, whether you're choice 1 or 4, have an opportunity to contact teachers for support. So when we send you your parent handbook, you'll be able to contact all your teachers through that handbook. And if you have a question for your teacher or an assignment, you can simply check in with your teacher and ask for help. So now a typical school day, which I alluded to a little bit, obviously is going to be live instruction. Core classes, PE, we'll be covering Character Strong. But again, small group work. The Zoom allows us to break kids up into groups. We've been practicing, so it's been kind of fun. Independent work. Obviously, there'll be chances for kids to do some work while they're there, while the teacher's there. The teacher can mute everyone, like right now, but then can go in and unmute any individual student and talk to them and give them help. So there is access at all times by the teacher to kids in the class, whether that's a large group of students, 3 or 4 students at one time, or a single student. And then, of course, teacher access time, and then our resources. Mrs. McDonald, our school counselor, and Tanya Roeder, our school psychologist, will always be available as well. So we're kind of excited to see how this rolls out. I think it's going to be fun. And then we're looking at transition to in-person. So just a little bit about our schedule is not going to change because we were virtual to in-person. It's still a 3-period day. We're still going to follow the same timeline. We're going to still follow the same class periods. We're going to still do all the same things that we've done virtually. We're just going to do it in person. Keep in mind that we have to social distance. So one of the things we will be doing with social distancing is if you walk in a classroom, our PTA came and had a small group meeting, because we could do a short small group meeting. We took them in a classroom so they could see one. The desks are all spread out. We can get about 18 or 19 desks in a classroom. So the classrooms are pretty bare, but we can get 18 to 19 desks in a classroom. And so kids in 6th grade will literally only have somewhere between 16 and 18 classmates at a time, which gives teacher a lot of one-on-one time with kids. So that's a huge benefit to the social distancing. We will be asking all kids to wear masks. Teachers will be wearing masks. Obviously, if you're not feeling good, like any time, we ask you to stay home so other kids and other people don't get sick. A little more cautious today than maybe 6 months, 7 months ago, but it's still the same protocol and process that we've always followed. 7th and 8th is slightly different because 7th and 8th will go on an A-B schedule. And so what would happen is, to social distance, a class of 29 would be cut in half. Half would come on Monday and Thursday, half would come on Tuesday, Friday, and then every other Wednesday. In that situation, there will be homework, because if you're a Monday student and you don't come Tuesday, Tuesday will not be a day off. It'll be a day where you're practicing what you learned on Monday. And the same for kids that come on Tuesday. They'll be getting homework. Now, while we're virtual, we have 1.5-hour classes. We've had lots of conversations about limiting homework when kids have been online for 4.5 hours. Limiting homework. Obviously, in some scenarios, there will be some homework, but we've had great discussion about trying to limit the homework. That already that's a long day, and keeping kids focused and active and trying to get things turned in before they leave is important. So we're looking forward to this day, though, and I know it's going to happen. I know we're going to be back in school, and I look forward to seeing the kids. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing all the staff in the building again. We do lots of fun things and lots of great activities, and those will all start again as soon as we get back to normal. So it's your time now. If you've had some questions that maybe haven't been answered yet, we'll kind of go through and see what we can do about answering any questions you might have. And thank you again for being here. I hope this has been helpful, and watch tomorrow for the parent handbook. I think that'll be helpful too.
All right, hello everyone. So thank you for your time and attention so far. We're now going to begin a question and answer period. We've already received a few questions over the course of the webinar, but please take time now to submit any additional questions in the chat function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We will see all of your questions, but may not have time to answer all of them live, but we are compiling a list of all questions that come in, and we'll follow up with further communication to be sure everyone's questions are addressed. So please take some time now in the chat to answer or to put in some questions, and we'll wait for some of them to come in. And maybe to start, Principal Giovanni, you might speak a little bit about some of the general questions that have been coming in about, maybe to start, some parents are curious about in-person learning and when that could commence. Can you say more about the conditions needed for that to happen?
So I'm not an expert. I know that our district and our superintendent rely heavily on the health district giving us direction, as well as the state leadership. So we are watching closely and hoping that as soon as possible, our numbers get down to a number that is acceptable for people to be in large groups again. Any numbers I would throw out would be numbers that I've heard and not necessarily facts. So I don't want to say what that number could be. I would say that as I watch the numbers, they've come down over the last several weeks. And so it feels good to see those numbers continue to drop. So from my perspective, we all do the right thing. We all social distance, we wear our masks, and we keep doing the right thing, and maybe sooner than later, we'll all be back together.
I'm going to jump in on that for a moment. This is Marlo, and with the district office. We've been working with our regional health district, and the requirements that we have from the state currently are we need to have less than 75 per 100,000 in Spokane County for a 2-week period for that return to in-person. Of course, we'll put a priority on our youngest of learners. So in this case for middle school, that would be our 6th graders first for that return, but we'll be working closely with both the state and the local health authorities to make sure that we're safe when we're able to do that. And we are ready when we're ready to do so. We've committed to a 5-day turnaround once we have that go forward.
Thank you, Martha. Those were the numbers I heard, but I was like, I'm not sure if I'm wrong.
Okay, so here's another question. Can you say more about what the students in option 4 can expect generally this year?
They probably couldn't hear me. Sorry, I was muted. There we go. So plan four really is pretty much like plan 1, with the exception you aren't attending school in the same way. We'll be posting lessons for a week, Monday through Friday on Mondays for the week. And we're asking parents to work on those, and hopefully you'll be able to turn those in within that week. One, we have to keep track of attendance. And so anytime we see work coming in, we can say that's attendance. We know that students are working, they're going online, they're checking it out. Access time and asking teachers questions is another way that teachers will know that you're attending, and they'll be able to say, yes, you're attending, because we are expected to still keep attendance. Unlike being in the classroom where the teacher's instructing and the kids are working and able to turn work in as they go along, at home, they're going to rely more on parent support to be able to keep them on track, get their work done, and follow along. What I was saying was that if a parent didn't work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but worked the rest of the days, they may have their kids do all the work on those 2 days and turn everything in, and they work 2 days a week. Likewise, they could spread it out over the week, but do it in the evenings. But you're still turning in work. Teachers are still collecting it. Teachers are still grading it. Teachers are still available for you if you want to ask them questions. Email them, and they'll be giving you feedback.
Excellent. Vern, can you say more about the exploratory classes for the year? We're getting a number of questions about how those will work.
Well, exploratory classes are electives. And so what we do is we have teachers that some people, Mrs. Pion is a pottery teacher, and so she's able to teach pottery. We have other people that are doing leadership classes. We offer a yearbook class. So we offer a variety of classes that kids can take. Now, it isn't really an option where you go in and pick, but we have to fill all classes. So we'll fill up those classes. And teachers, I have a teacher that's really into foreign languages and foreign culture. And so she's going to do a 6th grade foreign language and culture class, which I think would be really interesting. And we're hoping that in itself will roll forward into maybe a foreign language class at Greenacres in the future. So it's those classes. Everybody will take 2, unless you're a music student. If you're a music student, you will take band 2 quarters, the 1st quarter and the 3rd quarter. And if you're orchestra, you'll take it 2nd and 4th. And then all students will take 2 quarters of fitness and health. You'll get 45 minutes of health and then 45 minutes of fitness. And then after about 2 quarters, 3 quarters, we'll get through everybody, and then it'll be fitness. But by then, we're in back to school.
Great. Vern, we're seeing some questions come in about the resources that could be made available to students who are having difficulty focusing or keeping up in virtual learning. Could you say more about that?
Our resources, myself, Mrs. McDonald, Mrs. Chase, we're the ones, and of course the classroom teachers, we're all available. And I think reaching out and letting your teacher know first if you're having a hard time keeping up is really important. I think that because kids are all at different paces when they're working, and the teacher's going to try to keep track how well they're doing as they're collecting work. If you start having trouble with pacing, then we need to know. We need you to reach out to us, use our emails, our phone numbers, and let us know so that we can work with the teachers and work with you and your son or daughter to help create maybe a better pace. And that's pretty normal. I mean, we do that in normal situations where kids struggle to keep up. So let's just talk earlier, sooner than later, so that if right off the bat you feel that way, we can start working with kids and helping them out. And down the road, if we have kids that are really doing that, we're not opposed to even trying to figure out how to create maybe a study hall and for an elective, and they just get extra time to get some help and support. So we don't have that right now, but certainly could be something we look at as we're working with kids.
Great. For some questions about when kids are broken up into small groups, will they be supervised, and what will they really be kind of doing and talking about in those sessions? Can you say more about that?
Well, the teacher's always going to give them something that they're supposed to be focused on. One thing we talked about is groupings. We don't want large groups. Small groups tend to be more successful. The teacher can go in and check on groups, and then what we're doing is we're asking for in the beginning, really short periods of time where the kids were really only given a task that takes 1 or 2 minutes in a conversation, so that they can be brought back together and they get used to, I have to talk quick. We have to do what we're asked of, because before anything else can happen, we're back with everybody. So we're looking for short bursts of kids working together. And then as we go along and kids get to practice and we think they can handle a little bit more time, we'll add more time for them to work. But we'll be monitoring that and making sure that the work's happening, but we all go on bird walks.
Principal Giovanni, we get a number of questions about orchestra, especially when it comes to some of the extracurriculars. Is that still going to be available to students at a certain point? Can you just say more about what orchestra looks like this year?
Certainly, we have an amazing orchestra program, and Mr. Belfry is excited. we're purchasing for band and orchestra, we're purchasing a program through Greenacres Middle School. And kids will be able to practice even if they aren't in orchestra right now. And Mr. Belfry is going to reach out to the orchestra students to touch base with them and set up a way that he can help monitor them in the first quarter when maybe they aren't in orchestra, but they can be practicing, and he can be giving them some things to do. And then they can be going online and practicing. And that's why we've purchased the program. Band will go first, so band will obviously be in class with Mr. Belfry, but then when we go to second quarter, we'll do the same thing with band, and we'll transition. Our sixth grade band is pretty small. I think that we get a lot of kids when we get to do our presentation in the spring, and kids come to the school and get to go on tours and hear our band. And right now it's pretty small. So Mr. Belfry is going to offer to do a meeting with kids on Tuesday about 1:45, and invite all sixth graders or even seventh and eighth graders that might be interested to come chat with him and talk about band and see if there's something there that they might be interested in trying. But orchestra will be second, but we aren't going to forget about you. We have a great program, and the last thing we want is for kids to give up on it.
Panelists, we have a few parents who missed some of the earlier sections of the presentation, and they're curious about Chromebook distribution. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Again, yeah, good question, because it's changed. So today was the last day you could get them from U-High. You can pick them up at CV tomorrow, or you can pick them up on Tuesday from CV. And I'm going to make sure that I have the right times. Let's see here. So it's 9 to 1, and it's 3 to 7. 9 to 1, 3 to 7. Starting on Wednesday, you can pick them up at your home school. We'll have a limited supply, but they're going to divide those out for the ones that are left over at the high schools and put them back at the schools. And so if yours breaks, that happens. These things are not brand new. If they break, quit working, or you go, wow, I thought that we could do it with one and we need two in our family, then come by Greenacres starting Wednesday, or CV tomorrow or Tuesday, and we'll help you out.
That's great. So some questions about when a transition to in-person learning can happen, especially if folks are in option 4. Can they choose to stay at home doing virtual learning? And if they have to come back, say more about some of the public health behaviors that will be expected of students.
Well, it's my understanding, so I'm not going to say you have to come back, but I think the belief in option 4 and the difference between 3 and 4 was that 3 would be, you would stay virtual and you'd go through CDDL and you'd have teachers, and that was kind of the option for 3. 4 was more of a interim before we come back. Safety coming back, we're going to have multiple entrances to the building. We'll have cones out, social distancing. Kids will all have to check in at different locations. They're going to have their temperature taken. We're going to ask parents to have a form that comes in that just checks some of the things that we're looking for to know the kids are healthy, but you can do that ahead of time so it doesn't take a long time. Quick check. They're going to go straight to classes. Remember, our classes are all set up social distancing. There are 6 feet between every single desk in every direction. We're asking kids to wear masks. Teachers are wearing masks. We'll have masks available if you didn't bring one. We're going to ask the kids try to remember to bring them, even if they take ours, so that we don't have an unlimited supply where it could happen every single day for every student. Lunches will probably be in the classroom to begin with. We have put kids in cohorts. So the students that go to language arts first period, PE second period, and math third period are all together the whole day. So if someone were to get sick and we weren't sure, we only have a small group of kids that we're looking at to say, are we safe? So those are some of the things we're doing. When you come in the building, we're going to have social distancing within the building so that there will be places that as we're sending kids down the hall to classes, that we can space those kids out as well. So we want to make sure that we keep distance, keep kids in small groups, keep them even separated by distance, wear masks, and certainly with those small numbers, I think some personalized education as well.
Principal Giovanni, a few questions about grading under these circumstances. Can you say more about how that could be different or what that will look like under virtual learning?
You know, right now, I don't know that grading will be tremendously different. I mean, we haven't had a lot of conversations about grading. Last year, we kind of, there was an S that could be given, and so it didn't matter the amount of work or whatever. But this year, we're back to, we really are expected to score and grade. I believe our teachers are able to differentiate for students and give students second chances and give them multiple opportunities to show us their learning. And it shouldn't matter if you learned it on the first try, the second try, or the fifth try. The idea is about learning. And so as kids are trying or taking assessments, being able to try those again, improve grades, those are kind of normal things that we do with kids. But probably A, B, C, D scale and opportunities for parents to work with staff members and help their kids improve their grades if they aren't doing as well as they hoped.
Okay. So a question about in the eventuality that a student becomes sick, will they still be expected to participate in virtual day in option one?
You know, the way I look at option one is that we're virtual for kids that need to come in and get some help. And I would say if a student's home and they're ill, but they feel good enough that they could attend and still pay attention and get something out of that education, I would say, yeah, you're welcome to come. You're not going to get anyone else sick. Obviously, if you are very sick or you're coughing all the time or those kinds of things, I would say, you know, sleeping is probably better and relaxing. But if you're waiting and you just, you know, got a tummy ache and you're going to give it a day, you know, that's an option to still attend school.
That's great. So a question about students being allowed to change their minds about electives that they choose in the spring. Will they be able to change the first or second week of school?
Probably not. We are, you know, we are tight. The challenge with scheduling is that we really had to go down to almost the exact number of kids per teacher that we had available, and the other teachers went online to teach online. And so there really is very little flexibility for switching schedules around. So I wish I could say yes, but we're pretty packed and most classes are full. So, you know, it's just one of those things we were a full school for years and dealt with this because of the numbers, but now we aren't as full, but it's the same idea.
Mr. DiGiovanni.
Some questions about AP classes and how those would work this year.
They're going to work just like they worked in the past. We've set up the classes, we've put kids in the classes, they're going to go, they're going to follow curriculum that they need to have in order to move on so that they have an opportunity to be in advanced classes the following year. So we'll be offering them at all 3 grade levels and 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade language arts and math. So it's a little more difficult to schedule that in the smaller numbers in the environment, but it's important that kids get challenged.
Janet, I think I may have cut you off. Did you have something to contribute?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to follow up with what Mr. DiGiovanni said about schedule changes. Part of the concern on schedule changes too is that we keep the kids with the same cohorts throughout the day. So that will make it difficult to change schedules because we want the same kids to stay together all day too. So just another glitch in the scheduling, but some of the reasoning behind it.
Great. There's a question, what can parents do to support school staff over the course of this year?
Wow. Jen, I haven't heard from you.
That's a great question. Supporting school staff, a little bit of patience and grace. Our teachers have been working so hard to get ready for your kids, and they've been figuring out Blackboard and Zoom and curriculum and engaging strategies for the virtual world. So they are very ready for you. But remember that they're learning this as well. So just a little bit of patience, and please just communicate with us. Don't let frustration or something that you don't understand, let us know what we can do to help you so that we've got great communication back and forth. and we should be in good shape for a good year.
Excellent. So if a student has to miss a virtual day, how will parents need to call in for an excused absence, or is there a particular methodology you'd like them to use?
You would use it just like you do with school. What we'll have in the parent handbook is the attendance line number, and you just call in and they're homesick. And that's the good news is that because we are virtual and we are posting lessons for a week, you could go in and get that lesson at any time. Not that if your child's homesick, you want to be having them do math, but when they get feeling better, you still have access to all the assignments. So you aren't relying on your child going to school and talking to the teacher about, well, what did I miss? Will help.
Another few questions about electives coming in. So if students have never been in electives because maybe they're new to the district, will they just be put in an elective for both fall or spring, or how will that work?
Yeah, they're really, we create them based on the number of kids that need to be in an elective versus a band, choir, orchestra, and then also in balance with fitness and health. So typically in a 6-period day, you get both PE and an elective. In a 3-period day, you're going to do one, then the other. So not quite as much opportunity in a 3-period day, but we still want to offer that opportunity. And it really comes down to what your teacher's skills are and what they have to offer to be able to offer electives.
Great. Seeing a few questions come in about Blackboard. There's some folks who are not familiar with it, have never used it before. Can you speak more about what the Blackboard or platform looks like and how it operates?
Well, lucky at Greenacres, we have the person that's training other people to do it. So I'm definitely passing that one on to Jennifer Chase.
So one of the things our teachers will be doing in the first week of school will be helping kids learn how to navigate Blackboard as well. So there will be some specific lessons in their classes about how to find information, where to find information. But what your child will be able to do in order to join our meet and greet next Tuesday, you will have directions to access Blackboard. There's a login using your student ID number and their 8-digit birth date. And when you open up Blackboard, you'll see the 3 classes that student has been assigned to. You click on the class tab for first period, for example. And when you open that tab, the first thing you'll see are announcements that the teacher has posted. And in those announcements right at the top of the page will be information about teacher contact information, a link for that Zoom meeting for that very first meet and greet. That link will change for Wednesday, so you'll be able to get into your classes on Wednesday. And then a few other bits of information that teachers want to make sure that students have right out of the gate. So you'll be able to see that just with that first click into a Blackboard classroom. And then again, that first week of classes next week, teachers will help students navigate through Blackboard so that they know all of the places to go and where to look for information.
So a number of questions are coming in about study hall options that may be made available, or kind of extra tutoring that could become available, especially in the virtual learning environment.
Would you repeat that one? I was unmuting.
Yeah, so a couple more questions about study hall options that could become available, as well as potential tutoring for students that may need it and what that could look like.
You know, right now, I just can't give you a firm answer on what that could look like. We have offered those in the past. We've had staff members available to support us. And we just have to see where we are, the number of kids that might need help, who might be available to support that and run a class like that. So it's kind of watch it as you go and then try to determine if you can finagle that and make it work. It does mean changing kids' schedules around. So it would be like a quarter change or a semester change that we would have to do. But we're always watching to see what we can do to help kids and support kids. And so if we see something that we think we can fix or help or provide an opportunity, then we start working on that and seeing what we can do and how we can rearrange the ship. We have the same number of chairs on the ship, and so we just have to rearrange them. And so we'll kind of go down that road as we see how things go. And that's not a perfect answer, but that's how we'll have to go about it.
We're seeing some specific questions come in about state testing and what that might look like this year, and if we have any visibility into that or when we might have visibility.
You know, there hasn't been a lot of conversation right now about state testing, what it'll look like, how it's going to work. So, you know, that's probably more of a October, November question to see where we are and how things are going, and maybe some decisions that are made by the state. So we do definitely have access to practice materials, the practice site, and that's been a normal process for Greenacres that we start doing November, December. So I would imagine we're going to follow that same protocol and pattern, and having kids have a chance to get on and practice with their Chromebooks and do that kind of thing, so that in the event that we are doing it, it isn't a first-time shot for kids and they're not sure how to do it.
Principal DeGiovanni, speaking of Chromebooks, still a few more questions here about specific information that parents will need to have on hand to check those out. You know, if there's specific student ID numbers, what's needed?
Yeah, student name and ID number. Those are really the two things you need to bring. You know, your address and phone numbers and your name and things like that. But really, we're checking it out to a student, and the student needs to have an ID number. So an ID number with the student's name.
So a few questions about the potential switch from virtual learning into in-person again, and just talk about maybe how easy or difficult that might be, and kind of what the process would be to facilitate that from the parent's perspective.
Well, you know, I don't envision that if we do it, I'm going to take that back. When we do it, I really think we're going to end up doing it at some point. So I don't envision that happening on a flip of a dime. It's Wednesday and Thursday we do it. My feeling is that if it's Wednesday, we might start on a Monday. If it's a Tuesday, we might start on a Monday. So what I would expect would be another one of these meetings, another one of these virtual gatherings where we're able to walk you through the process, what it'll look like, who's on an A schedule, who's on a B schedule, all that information you're going to need in order to have a smooth transition for your student. If you have a 7th or an 8th grader, 6th graders will come every day. They'll have the same teachers, the same classes. We just will have to help them figure out where those classes are and how to get there. So there will be a transition plan that will happen with your kids and with you, to make sure that when we come back to the building, kids can get to where they need to be. They know the protocols, they know the system. And you know what? It may take us a few days and we may be slow getting it going, just to make sure everybody knows where they're going and how to do it.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about how teachers are really going to be building a sense of community amongst the students this year, and kind of keeping this positive environment amid virtual learning? There's a lot of questions about this.
Well, I'm going to let Jen talk a little bit about Character Strong, and Janet can talk a little bit about 5 Radical Minutes. And those are a couple of programs that we're going to be doing. One is, both of those will be kind of breaks that we use with kids, but also one of those is something that we're going to tie in with electives. So when do you want to go first?
I was answering a question in the chat. Yeah, so we have a couple of ways that we are integrating Character Strong into our regular school day. One of those ways, Mr. DeGiovanni talked about a little bit earlier, we have some short lessons, kind of a brain break really, that we're going to lay into our first period classes. So there will be some, it starts out with kind of get to know you games so that students know the other kids who are in that virtual classroom and start to feel connected to the teacher. And then that builds into developing a greater sense of community amongst all of those students who are in that cohort and amongst the teachers who are in that cohort as well. We have some whole school things planned as well so that we can maintain a sense of Bruin pride and Bruin community. And those things will be coming up as we move through the day. and through the weeks. Another place that students will find attention to character strong will be for those students who are taking an exploratory class. And there will be part of that exploratory class will be focused on character strong lessons as well. And those lessons also foster a sense of community amongst those students. They're slightly different, but they also focus very much on our overall feeling as a school, the culture of our school, and sort of the way that Bruins carry themselves through their day and through their school. So those are ways that we will be intentionally fostering a sense of community and a sense of belonging for our students and for our families.
Great.
And I will add,
So some of
I'm going to have Janet talk a little bit about
please, Janet.
okay, I'll go quick, sorry. I'll just add about 5 radical minutes. Our district has adopted years ago a crisis plan, and Sherry Lovery is the author of that and has facilitated that in our district. I worked with her a couple years ago, and we developed a program called 5 Radical Minutes. And what it is in person, it would be every student in every classroom would take 5 minutes a day with a prompt from the teacher to have a conversation and active listening with each other. Each student would get 2 minutes to talk, the other would listen, vice versa. And then they talk about their similarities and their differences. And the hope is every day a student will have a conversation with a different student. So everyone in the class will know each other well. Huge part, I believe, is important for building relationships with students, to actually have them converse with each other. So the program has adapted to the virtual learning, and we will be doing that with all of our teachers in their classrooms. And so the kids get to have conversations. One idea is, because we're virtual, that those conversations might happen through journaling or through some other ways that we can share information with each other. And I will have the link coming up soon. Jennifer Chase is going to help me really be able to post the links that are available with that program and the resources for all our families. So be looking for that.
So enough time for maybe 2 more questions here before we wrap. One of the questions we're getting as a theme for folks who may have missed some of the beginning questions about the supplies that students should be bringing and have ready for virtual learning. The panelists can speak a little bit more about that.
We will be sending the supplies out along with the parent handbook tomorrow, probably about 1 o'clock. Which also then has the directions for Zoom and also Blackboard. But school supplies really are, obviously we need technology if you're going to be virtual. So personal or Chromebook, spiral notebooks are great. A binder would be great. It kind of depends on your student. Some kids like to have a different subject for each spiral book, and some kids like to keep it all in one binder, and so they just have sections. Pens, pencils, erasers, things like that, a calculator. We're providing a planner. So those basic things that a student can have to be able to practice, do some work. Zoom does provide a whiteboard. And so we're going to be practicing and using whiteboards, which then allows kids to do activities and then show the teacher, and the teacher can see all the boards. So that's another thing that Zoom brings with us that a lot of teachers will do in class, just hand out boards and have markers. So we'll be able to do that as well. So.
Excellent. And then a few questions just about how parents will be able to pass along any feedback to teachers. Is there a preferred communication method that teachers would like to have in terms of receiving feedback from parents throughout the year?
Our teachers, obviously today's world is email and virtual communication. So, but my only request is short and sweet, kind of to the point. Sometimes we get into emails that get really long and lengthy. And so we really try to work with our staff as well as parents to, kind of keep them short so that they don't take a long time, but it's easy to respond to. But we welcome feedback. I mean, part of this meeting was driven as parents started sending me emails over the weekend saying, I'm not quite clear about it, I'm not sure about. And I said, we have to meet. We have to clear up any misconceptions that people have, and it has to be done right away. We have to do it now. So same idea with, if we go back to in person, is we want to get back together and make sure that everybody's on the same page. So same idea.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for your questions. We've had time to address, I'd say, sort of the broadest themes that have come through. For those of you who didn't hear your specific question answered or haven't had it answered virtually via chat, please look on the district's communication channels in the coming days and weeks for more information about some of those specific questions. But with that, that'll conclude our Q&A that we have time for here in the webinar. So with that, I'd pass it back to Principal Giovanni for any closing remarks.
Hey, looking forward to even a virtual year with your students, with you. I think we're going to do it well. I have no doubt. We've been working hard. Got great support sitting right here with us, as well as all the teachers. Reach out, let us know if you're having challenges, or hey, it's always good to hear somebody say you're doing it right. So appreciate it. But be watching for Bruin updates. I'm going to be sending those out a little more often than once a week, but around once a week, you can kind of see how we're doing and where we're going. So thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it.